Europe in the early 20th century was a continent on edge. The air was thick with tension, and the political landscape was a complex web of alliances, rivalries, and ambitions. The nations of Europe were like pieces on a chessboard, each maneuvering for position and power. Nationalism, a potent force, was on the rise, fueling rivalries and ambitions among the great powers. This fervent sense of national pride and identity was not just a unifying force, but also a divisive one, pitting nations against each other in a dangerous game of brinkmanship. Germany, newly unified and hungry for recognition, sought to assert its dominance. The nation was eager to showcase its newfound strength and industrial prowess, aiming to carve out a place for itself on the world stage. This ambition, however, was viewed with unease by its neighbors. France, still smarting from its defeat in the Franco-Prussian War, desired revenge and the return of lost territories. The loss of Alsace-Lorraine was a bitter pill to swallow, and the French national psyche was marked by a deep-seated desire to reclaim its lost glory. Great Britain, the reigning global superpower, watched Germany's growing military might with suspicion. The British Empire, with its vast colonies and naval supremacy, felt threatened by Germany's rapid militarization and expansionist ambitions. Meanwhile, the crumbling Austro-Hungarian and Ottoman empires struggled to contain the rising tide of nationalism within their borders. These multi-ethnic empires were fraught with internal divisions, as various ethnic groups sought greater autonomy or outright independence. The Balkans, a volatile mix of ethnicities and ambitions, became a tinderbox of tensions. The region was a hotbed of nationalist fervor, with various groups vying for control and influence. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand in Sarajevo would soon ignite these smoldering tensions into a full-blown conflict. Alliances, meant to deter aggression, instead entangled the nations of Europe in a web of obligations. The intricate system of treaties and agreements created a fragile balance of power where the actions of one nation could trigger a chain reaction, drawing multiple countries into conflict. The stage was set for a conflict that would consume the continent and change the course of history. World War I, also known as the Great War, would not only reshape the political boundaries of Europe, but also leave an indelible mark on the collective consciousness of the world. The war to end all wars was about to begin, and Europe would never be the same again. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne, in Sarajevo on June 28, 1914, sent shockwaves through Europe. This event is often cited as the spark that ignited the powder keg of tensions that had been building up for years among the major European powers. A Serbian nationalist, Gavrilo Princip, was responsible for the assassination, hoping to break free from Austro-Hungarian rule. Princip was a member of the Black Hand, a secret society committed to the cause of Serbian nationalism. His actions were driven by a deep-seated desire to see Serbia liberated from the influence of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. Austria-Hungary, outraged and backed by its powerful ally Germany, saw an opportunity to crush Serbian ambitions. The assassination provided the pretext they needed to pursue a more aggressive policy towards Serbia, which they had long viewed as a destabilizing influence in the Balkans. Austria-Hungary issued Serbia a harsh ultimatum, deliberately crafted to be unacceptable. The ultimatum was a calculated move designed to provoke a conflict that Austria-Hungary believed it could win with German support. The ultimatum demanded Serbia suppress anti-Austrian sentiment, allow Austrian officials to participate in the investigation of the assassination, and other measures that would essentially strip Serbia of its sovereignty. These demands were seen as an affront to Serbian national pride and independence. Serbia, though willing to meet some of the demands, balked at others. The Serbian government found itself in a difficult position, trying to balance the need to avoid war with the imperative to maintain national dignity and sovereignty. This partial refusal was all Austria-Hungary needed. The Austro-Hungarian leadership, already inclined towards a military solution, seized upon Serbia's response as justification for war. On July 28, 1914, Austria-Hungary declared war on Serbia. This declaration set off a chain reaction among the major European powers, each bound by a complex web of alliances and treaties. Russia, bound by treaty to protect Serbia, began mobilizing its army. The Russian Empire saw itself as the protector of Slavic nations and felt compelled to come to Serbia's aid, despite the risks involved. Germany, obligated to support Austria-Hungary, viewed Russian mobilization as a threat and declared war on Russia on August 1st. The German leadership, particularly Kaiser Wilhelm II, believed that a swift and decisive war could secure Germany's position in Europe. 2 days later, Germany declared war on France, Russia's ally, and invaded neutral Belgium to bypass French defenses. The invasion of Belgium was part of the Schlieffen Plan, a strategy designed to quickly defeat France before turning east to face Russia. Great Britain, bound to protect Belgium's neutrality, declared war on Germany on August 4th. The British government, led by Prime Minister H. Asquith, felt that it had no choice but to honor its commitments and defend Belgium. The Great War had begun. What started as a regional conflict in the Balkans quickly escalated into a global war, drawing in nations from around the world and leading to unprecedented levels of destruction and loss of life. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand set off a series of events that would change the course of history forever. Note: Scene 4 is left blank for the narrator as no specific lines were provided in the outline for this scene. The Eastern Front of World War I was a theater of immense scale and complexity. Unlike the static trench warfare in the West, the Eastern Front saw vast sweeping movements across diverse terrains. Major campaigns here involved the Central Powers clashing with the forces of Russia, leading to significant battles such as Tannenberg and the Brusilov Offensive. These campaigns not only shaped the course of the war but also had profound impacts on the societies involved. World War I was a period of rapid technological advancement, with innovations that would forever change the nature of warfare. The conflict acted as a catalyst for unprecedented technological progress, driven by the urgent need to gain a strategic advantage over the enemy.
The war saw the introduction of new weapons and tactics. These innovations were not just incremental improvements, but represented a quantum leap in military technology. Things like machine guns, tanks, and chemical warfare fundamentally altered how battles were fought. Machine guns, for instance, could fire hundreds of rounds per minute, making traditional charges across open ground suicidal.
These advancements brought both strategic advantages and unprecedented levels of destruction. The sheer scale of the devastation was unlike anything the world had seen before, with entire landscapes transformed into barren wastelands. The introduction of tanks, for instance, allowed for greater mobility on the battlefield, breaking the stalemate of trench warfare. These armored vehicles could cross difficult terrain and barbed wire, providing a new way to breach enemy lines.
Yes, and the use of chemical weapons, though controversial, demonstrated the lengths to which nations would go to gain an edge. Poison gases like mustard gas caused horrific injuries and deaths, adding a new dimension of terror to the battlefield. It was a grim reminder of the war's brutal reality. Soldiers had to endure not just the physical dangers, but also the psychological trauma of constant threat and unimaginable suffering.
Indeed, the technological innovations of World War I not only shaped the outcome of the conflict, but also set the stage for future warfare. The lessons learned and technologies developed during this period would go on to influence military strategies and tactics for decades to come, but also set the stage for future warfare, highlighting the relentless march of progress and its often devastating consequences. The war underscored the dual-edged nature of technological advancement, where each new invention brought both hope for victory and the potential for greater destruction. World War I, often called the Great War, was not just a European conflict. It spanned continents, involving nations from Asia, Africa, and the Americas. The sheer scale and reach of the war were unprecedented, drawing in millions from across the globe.
In April 1917, the United States officially entered the war. The American Expeditionary Forces, led by General John Pershing, brought fresh troops and resources to the exhausted Allied powers.
The entry of the United States marked a significant turning point. American industrial and military might begin to tip the scales in favor of the Allies, leading to a series of decisive victories. On November 11, 1918, the guns fell silent. The armistice marked the end of the fighting, but the war's legacy was far from over. The Treaty of Versailles, signed in June 1919, sought to establish a lasting peace, but also sowed the seeds of future conflicts.
For many of us who fought under the British flag, the war was not just about Europe. It was about our own hopes for independence and recognition. The sacrifices made by soldiers from colonies around the world are often overlooked.
World War I reshaped the political landscape, leading to the fall of empires and the rise of new nations. Its impact is still felt today, a century later, as we continue to grapple with its complex legacy.